All right, so we finally made it to the chapter on means testing. So it's going to be a quick PowerPoint demonstration because there's not a lot to really go over. I'm just going to hit certain important parts and focus on that. So as I've been saying now for a while, make sure you have the bankruptcy petition with you so you can listen along to my video or watch it so you start to get a better idea. And then when I start working on the videos where I go over the bankruptcy petition, then definitely going to see all the tricks and all the things that can be done with the means testing to make sure a client is able to pass. All right. So I'll catch you now with the PowerPoint demonstration. So welcome to chapter 20 of my bankruptcy law textbook and these review videos that I'm doing. We're going to focus on today the means test. Now, the means test is that change that came in 2005 to literally make it more difficult for debtors to qualify for bankruptcy. Now, overall, I can tell you that plan from Congress did not work. So I guess they get an A in effort, but it didn't go through because ultimately the means test has so many issues. And I've said over and over again how you can just simply, if there's a loss of income, like I've used before the example during COVID, you would just wait a few months and all of a sudden a person magically went from chapter 13 to now qualifying for chapter 7. So statistically, it seems the numbers really haven't changed that much. Now, we are going to go over just a few things that you need to focus on when it comes to the means test. The most important thing I'm going to tell you is purposely fail the means test. Okay, so get your bankruptcy petition, fail it, and then start punching in the numbers when it comes to this section, especially if you're using any type of software. I personally use Best Case, but whatever you're using, and focus on trying to see what is required so you get a better understanding of it. This is literally something you're gonna have to get your hands in, get your finger, get dirt underneath your fingernails to better understand why all of a sudden, because I punch in a few numbers in the means test, all of a sudden someone qualifies. But again, and we'll use some of the examples here to get a better idea. Now, the first thing I want you to know, especially if you haven't been watching all the videos, is just understand. Now, I do apologize for this every time. Today, I'm not using another computer. I'm using a stylus. So let's see if this works. Typically, it doesn't. Okay, that wasn't too bad. It's currently monthly income. So you mean how much I made this month? No. Again, I mean, why would Congress call something current monthly income when it's not focused on the current income? It's actually focused on the last 6 months. But leave it up to Congress. Now, as you can see, the means test, and there's the form that you need to use, is going to focus on gross income, right? Now, if you fail it, we'll get over that in a couple of minutes. But when I'm talking about gross income, it's every income. I don't know why I see this issue in bankruptcy and I also see it in family law, or people like for child support, do they include bonuses? Well, yeah, doesn't the IRS consider your bonus taxable income? Why would this be any different? Well, but I don't always get it. Doesn't matter. You average it out because you got it this year, and then we have to play with those numbers. So this is no different. Likewise, if you have a gig economy or a part-time job, if you're selling something online, there's some sort of a side hustle. You got stuff that even maybe stuff that you make, and I've seen so many creative things that people make. But if they're making something online, they're selling it. That's a business. Maybe you don't have an official EIN number, employee identification number, but it's a business. It's a side hustle. I don't care what the side hustle is. It could be mowing lawns on the weekends. You have to put it there. Don't put yourself in a position where the trustee is going to be asking questions you don't want them to ask. Now, I mentioned overtime. A lot of times, and I've said before, there are certain months out of the year where you're going to get paid more, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. December is one of them. There could be bonuses. There could be overtime. Maybe you're in retail, and then come December, there's more overtime, more sales, more commissions. You see how they're all tied in together, and it's just one job. Another issue is, well, wait a minute. I really did a lot of good money this month, and that blew out of the water me qualifying for chapter 7 because of this silly means test. That's okay. You don't have to stress it. You can just delay filing the case. How much? I don't know. Again, start playing with the numbers. If the client normally makes 3,000 a month and this month they doubled it or triple it, then figure out with the means testing how many months have to go by, 2 months, 3 months, etc., to get them back to normal. Even if it's 3 months, or 4 months, doesn't matter. The holidays aren't for another 8 months after that. So you're good. There shouldn't be any problems in that regard. Okay. So keep that in mind. Sometimes over time and the last and those months where there's an extra paycheck, that messes up all the numbers, not only for Schedule I in comparing to Schedule J, but also potentially for the means test. Okay. So make sure all income is included. Now, there have been times where I have a client that I say, okay, well, I know you got this side hustle. Let's say it's just Uber. I said the problem with your side hustle is it's preventing me from qualifying you from bankruptcy. Well, guess what? They can quit the job. Yeah, they could. There's no law that makes them continue to work multiple jobs and 60 hours a week, and then they can't file for bankruptcy. No, they can just quit the side hustle. Again, we're talking 6 months. So make sure that all those numbers add up. Make sure that, can they file 1 month only, after 1 month of not having a side hustle? Is that good enough? If it is, then that's when the bankruptcy filing will take place. Okay. Now, abuse. I've joked about this several times. I'm always making fun of it online as well. There's all this abuse running around in the bankruptcy system. So Congress took it upon themselves as the superheroes of finances, to even put in BACBA, the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention Consumer Protection Act. What abuse? Ask one member of Congress, and they'll just say there's abuse, and they can't even come up with one example. It's gibberish. But they keep incorporating abuse everywhere. And here you see it with the means test too. If you pass the means test, the last 6 months of income, right, and the income will be lower than the average, the median income of that state, then there's no presumption of abuse. So we're done, right? We can file Chapter 7. I haven't said that. I said maybe. Okay, because we still have to look at Schedules I and J. Is there too much disposable income available? Then the fact that you passed the mean test, congratulations, that's part one. This is part two. And by the way, we're still not done. This is part three now, exemptions. If the car's paid off and it's not exempt, or it's an amount that the client can afford to pay back within X amount of time, 10 to 12 months, then guess what? We're looking at Chapter 13. So the means test means nothing at this point because the exemptions are too high, or maybe their disposable income is too high. So now you see how Congress took all these different steps to try to make it more difficult for someone to qualify for Chapter 7. But again, the means test is just part one. We have to worry about Schedule I, Schedule J. We have to worry about exemptions as well. So what if you fail the means test? More abuse, right? There's the presumption of abuse. Sounds scary. Really doesn't. All you got to do is complete the next form. And the next form and when you look at it, you'll see what it is. It's asking a lot more details now on the bankruptcy petition, like how much is going to be owed on certain secured debt. And that's the problem with the means test. You have someone who doesn't have a secured asset like a home is not going to qualify, but then a person who does have a mortgage is going to qualify. There is no logic to that. I consider it completely unfair, illogical, irrational, but that's the law. So, if what the numbers are, it's a mathematical formula. You're going to have to sit there if you're going to do the forms by hand and start doing some adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing to figure this stuff out. The software will take care of it for you. But ultimately, that's what has to be done. You have to go through the process and figure out if that secured debt is going to bring them down. Maybe they just need to declare dependence. Maybe more details when it comes to deductions on their paycheck. Maybe a car note is enough. Maybe 2 cars is what's needed. Again, every single case is different. A client just can't say, I passed the means test, I'm good to go. No, because again, we have to worry about, the different schedules and the exemptions to determine whether this client is going forward, yes or no. And the good news about this presumption of abuse, presumption sounds like we're presuming you did something bad until you prove otherwise. But the good news is you get a second bite at the apple. And so now potentially maybe you can get a client to qualify depending on the amount of unsecured debt that they have as well as the secured debt. Okay. So now let's just look here at a summary of what I'm talking about. Let's just split this down the middle. A lot of similarities, right? We're focusing on the gross and net income on the means test, you're definitely focusing on the gross. And if you don't pass, guess what? We have to now start worrying about all the deductions and look at the net income. So you have that in common with both. Okay. We're also dealing when it comes to Schedule I. Remember, we're looking at this month. Whatever month you're in, that's the month we're focusing on. And when it's that month, remember to make sure that there's not going to be extra paychecks involved. But likewise, how um, every sort of income is included, including for Schedule I, side hustles, and everything else. When it comes to the means test, well, we're going to include all income, but remember the last 6 months. So if the client quit Uber or bartending or waiting tables, anything they did as a side hustle 3 months ago, then we're only going to include those 3 months. So again, that changes the numbers on the means test. Okay. Now, household contributions, right? Domestic partner, roommates, all that also gets included in both because obviously it will affect the case. If someone's giving you $500 a month extra, then that has to be included in there. My suggestion, don't play games with that. Make sure it's listed because the trustees, same software we use. They have their own programs where they can find out if other people are receiving mail there. I've talked in the past about clients who have gotten caught that way, where I've even adjusted my bankruptcy intake just to ask the question: does anybody else reside there or get mail there? Just to avoid these issues. Okay, and then finally we have Schedule J, and Schedule J is the expenses. We don't have that on the means test necessarily, where we're making a comparison, but we do deduct all those expenses. And again, once you play with the numbers, you'll see, if you go to the section where there's a car and you put in there what the expenses are, they automatically have listed basically in the area where the debtor is filing, they have listed how much the maintenance of a car should be. All of a sudden you have two cars and there's an extra $600-700 a month expense. And before you know it, they qualify for the means testing. So, but again, the best way to prepare for that is just purposefully, just put a number there, whatever that number is, and say, oh, my client did not pass the means, and then start making adjustments. One dependent, two dependents, one car, two cars, a mortgage. Is $100,000 mortgage enough, or do I need to go up to 150,000? It all depends, but it starts to give you a better idea of how all of this works. If you're just going to go by the means testing is the last 6 months of income, you're never going to understand the means testing. You have to look at all the expenses. You have to look at how unsecured and secured debt will affect it. Okay. Any questions or comments, as always, feel free to post them in the comment section below. I hope you're enjoying my videos and I hope you're doing great in class. All right. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you for the next video.